welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Thursday, guys. I hope your guys' week is going well. We're back at it with another video. Today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a deeper look at this up-and-coming Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries transit. If you guys like this content and you want to see more of it, click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and let me know that these videos are helpful. Any interaction with the videos really helps the channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Share this with somebody else to help kind of put a fire underneath them to get them kind of going with some of the themes of this particular transit. Now, this is an important time as we see Mars, the ruler of Aries, coming into conjunction with the North Node. We've seen a lot of action in this area in recent months between retrogrades and eclipses. Finally, Mars is going to be reaching the North Node and helping all of us get on the path to our future. Now, this will technically be in conjunction on May 18th. However, we work with a couple degree orbs, so I would say pretty much from like the 17th all the way through the 20th, this is going to be very impactful. You're going to feel the effects of this. I mean, maybe even earlier than that. Maybe I would say even like the 16th. So May 16th through the 20th, 2024, that's when you guys are going to be feeling this the most. Stay tuned to the end of this video. I will take you guys through the 12 rising signs and talk about what you are initiating. But the truth is, this will be significant for everyone because the North Node talks about where we are all going collectively for our soul's growth. So even if you don't have any placements in Aries or even in Scorpio, it's still going to be important for you. But for my Aries and Scorpio risings, Mars is your chart ruler. So when Mars is moving somewhere in the skies, making aspects, it's important to pay attention because that greatly involves you as Mars rules your chart. Also, if you have any personal planets around 13 to 15 degrees of Aries, let's say your moon's there, your Venus there, your North Node's there. If you've got a placement, Mars coming into conjunction with the North Node is going to amplify the effects of that particular planet and that house. So this is where it really kind of pays to know your astrology. But I anticipate this is going to be a very action-packed transit. The conjunction is very dynamic because basically it's going to be energizing the influence that propels all of us forward onto our destined path and purpose. So the whole purpose of the Mars North Node conjunction is to encourage us to embrace our individuality, assert ourselves, and take initiative in pursuing our goals and desires and taking leaps into the future. Now, the North Node in Aries, we have had this all year long. We're going to be having it clear into the beginning of 2025. But this is a very significant period of growth and progress towards our goals. This aspect is meant to ignite our passion, our courage, our drive, motivating us to step outside of our comfort zone and pursue our true desires with confidence and determination. Now, this conjunction will be taking place at 14 degrees of Aries. So like I said, anything from about 13, 14, 15 degrees of Aries, you guys are right in the crosshairs of this particular conjunction. Conjunctions in astrology are the strongest aspects that we see as two planetary forces fused together. Now, the North Node is not a planet, but some astrologers treat it as one, and it can be a bit of a grab bag because we don't really know what's going to arrive. I'll take you guys through some of the past looks at when we saw Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries, just to give you some insight. But let's start off first with the degrees and the Sabian symbols and what this means. Obviously, we know Mars is the god of war. It is about masculinity, combative energies. It's about force. It's in the element of fire, so it is going to be action-packed and daring. Mars is also in the sign of Aries, so it's in its domicile, so it's at home in this sign, so it can really express this energy very well. And it'll be taking place at 14 degrees. So 14 degrees really is pointing to Taurus-related things. If Aries is personal, okay, Taurus is what we possess. So my money, my food, my resources, my values, my needs. It's a very selfish energy that's going to kind of come through with this. And 14 degrees deals with all kinds of things connecting to Taurus. So this has been coming up a lot, guys. We have seen so many conjunctions in Taurus. And we're going to see this one kind of mirroring that particular theme that's been going on in the skies. But 2, 14, and 26 always is a Taurus energy. So things like your money, your wallets, who you're banking with, the economy, economists, bankers, things that we eat, things that are connected to nature, forests, biology, kitchens, throats, necks, anything that we grow, that we raise, what we possess, what is mine, right? Taurus phrase. And things connecting to our voice and things that are green, but well, Taurus money, right? That's definitely a connection that we see there. And we read the Sabian symbol for 15 degrees. I've read it for you guys a couple times, and I believe I touched on this also during the Mars and Aries video that I did. But the Sabian symbol is an Indian weaving a ceremonial blanket. So when we look at this particular symbol, it's suggesting the idea of craftsmanship, cultural heritage, and the creation of something of deep significance. Well, we see that this is happening in Aries, so it's what we create, what we possess, that we hold of value, so what we find valuable. It's really signifying the importance of tradition and ritual, as well as skillfully weaving together various elements to create a cohesive whole. This symbol can represent the idea of weaving together different aspects of one's life experiences to create a meaningful and purposeful existence. So this can be about wanting to make money in a purposeful way, you know, what we actually possess and what we find of value and what we're collecting or consuming or what we are holding on to. And I really think it's encouraging us to embrace our cultural roots and honoring the traditions that have shaped our own personal identity. Now, Mars can also be connected to symbols. It can be connected to anything connecting to weapons, things pertaining to military, anything with like armies and mobility and like, you know, movements. We definitely see that. When we see Mars conjunct the North Node, it's like Mars on steroids. So we are going to feel both ends of that Aries spectrum, where we're feeling very like driven and determined, and we're more willing to take chances and be pioneering or entrepreneurial. But we can also find that patience is in short supply. We're a little bit more confrontational, combative, argumentative, and reactionary, and ready to go toe to toe with someone. So we're gonna kind of look at the pros and cons here. But I definitely feel like this conjunction, it's rare, okay? So I'm gonna take you guys through like the last 100 years in a second and show you the last few times that we had this conjunction. Not every single North Node in Aries transit coincides with a Mars transit, but we have seen a lot of them actually over the last 100 years. So we have the North Node in Aries roughly about every 18.5 to 19 years. So that in itself is unusual because we don't get it all that often. So we're already really working with Mars energy, the embodiment of that, and how to be a little bit more, I think, self-sufficient and a little bit more independent or self-reliant. So when Mars shows up, you know, in any sign, we want to be paying attention to where is Mars, how is it aspected, what is it doing? In this last year, we have seen Mars go through Scorpio. We have seen that be a period of transformation and purging and renewal. We have also seen Mars go through Capricorn in its exaltation, where it was all about prestige and long-term goals and productivity and our career and kind of government-related matters. And so we see, you know, Mars do better in these signs. But Mars is also being reborn in the sign of Aries. We had the ingress recently, so it's there now. With the North Node Mars conjunction, something is being seeded, okay? Something pertaining to the future. So when Mars and the North Node come together, it's representing action, drive, and desire with the North Node. So it's our soul's evolutionary direction and life purpose. And this astrological event is unusual because we get it round about every, 18 to 20 years, depending on the Mars cycle. A few things that you want to watch for with this particular conjunction as it's going to be building over this next week. Number one, we're going to feel a strong desire for drive and purpose, okay? It's going to be really instinctual. Fire burns. It's going to be this pulsing feeling of we need to get the show on the road. Where are we going? What are we doing to achieve our goals? The conjunction between these two basically will infuse on a very individual level a strong sense of drive and purpose. encouraging us to pursue our passions and life goals with determination and with bravery. The alignment can provide courage and willpower needed to face challenges and pursue our purpose. So it's this, I just gotta have it, I gotta do it now. It's almost like this burning kind of feeling of like needing to get the show on the road, and it's like lighting a fire under all of our asses, to be honest with you. So get really familiar with where Aries is in your chart. Most of you guys already know between the eclipses and the retrogrades, but now that Mars is meeting with this North Node, now it's like go time. So what we've been working out over the last 2 months with eclipse season and retrogrades, what we've been trying to figure out, how we're gonna get started, what we're gonna be initiating, Mars gives us so much energy and drive to get the ball rolling, right? There is a karmic connection here as well, okay? So I kind of see the North Node as like Dharma, so it's like what we're actually creating in this life, what experiences, what actions, what direction we're going in. That's about our future, opposite of what's karmic. And what's interesting is that when this happens, we are actually going to see the moon in Libra conjunct the South Node. So we've got the moon, South Node connection, breaking away from karmic patterns in relationships, breaking away from being complainant, from being indecisive, from being too relationship oriented, to caring too much about what other people think. And we're going through this process of like emotionally shedding layers of ourselves. The moon South Node in itself can be about an emotional kind of reaction and feeling like the bottom is kind of falling out in some way. But the Mars North Node connection is about being like, we push forward anyway. We continue to kind of keep on our game face and focus on what's on the horizon. This is a really interesting kind of combination when we see this set up, because that North Node signifies a very powerful and fateful connection that is being made, right? And it can be within ourselves. I mean, unless you're Libra rising, this will be in your 7th house. But Aries is more about the relationship to self and our own personal identity. So this is really kind of continuing that theme of breaking away from relationships that don't honor who we truly are on an individual level, and learning that, you know what, we have to go our own way, even if we have to go it alone. Expect some relationship fallout that will happen with the South Node moon in Libra. I do feel like it is about also a relationship that can kind of come into our life that can be very transformative. And it can be about both parties playing a significant role in each other's lives, often pushing one another towards growth and evolution. So we can see through some changes with relationships, reflecting on past relationships, looking at some of our connections, friendships, allies, and the changes that are going on there, and how that's really pushing us to be brave and to be more so independent. Watch for action and transformation, okay? If there's one thing I know, Mars transits, they bring the heat, they bring lots of action. Fire burns things down, guys. So we are definitely going to see lots of action taking place. On an individual level, we are going to be feeling like we need to take decisive action in alignment with our soul's evolution. It can lead to a significant personal and spiritual growth period, as we as individuals are motivated to step outside of our comfort zone and pursue our desires with confidence and determination. Mars is basically like the soldier or the warrior that's willing to put on its armor, grab its shield, and go into battle. So this is a time where I think we're going to be feeling like, okay, I got to do something. I got to do something now. I got to take some kind of action. This can be positive in a sense of, getting outside of our comfort zone and initiating new things. Many people will look back on this period and they'll go, that's when I took matters into my own hands. That's when I stood up and made a difference. That's when I launched my business. That's when I moved, or that's when I took some kind of chance. And you will see this unfold over time. In the next couple of years, we're going to be seeing Saturn, move into Aries. And so we'll see reactivations here in like 2026, I think 2027, as Saturn kind of connects with these degrees. So we will see this continue to kind of reverberate into the future. So there will still be some effects of this down the road. We navigate challenges with this connection because Mars with the North Node can introduce elements of competition, impatience, conflict, this burning kind of feeling that, we need to kind of move forward very rapidly, very quickly. So there can be conflict, there can be challenges. We can be feeling like we're just kind of cutting our way, you know, through the thick of it. But if we channel this energy constructively, if we have an outlet for it, if we're working out, if we are staying active, if we are focusing on developing the necessary skills on a personal level that we need, not only to just survive, but to thrive, this can lead to very dynamic, active, and passionate relationships or personal growth periods, okay? So it can be really positive in that sense. But expect some fiery energy because Mars is, you know, the planet of action and desire. It lends its fiery energy to the North Node, which is, you know, futuristic, unsure, undefined, and it will amplify the assertive, action-oriented quality of Mars. So this can provide the energy and motivation needed to really pursue our purpose with courage and determination, to push us in the direction that we need to go. And it's important to be reminding yourself that you have to be brave and that things are not going to be handed to you, that if you want opportunities to kind of arise, you have to kind of seize the moment and kind of forge your own path forward. Now, some potential challenges or negative side effects that we can see with this transit, hands down, impulsiveness, okay? So it's like needing to do something right now, not thinking it through, shooting from the hip, because Aries energy is impulsive. And so there can be this tendency to kind of like, you know, act before thinking things through. There can be a tendency to rush through things. This can make us more likely to have accidents, to cut, burn, bump, you know, ourselves. And there can be this sense of like not really thinking about the consequences of our actions until after the fact. So take that for what it's worth. Also, conflict. So Mars energy can bring about conflict, especially if you're too aggressive or confrontational. After all, Mars is the planet of war. So it can be about pushing someone too hard, too fast, too quickly, getting into an argument, things getting heated, you know, basically pressure kind of mounts, and then you're in a situation that can be quite combative or just straight up dangerous. You know, try to be mindful of your interactions with others and find constructive ways to express your assertiveness. Count to 10, go for a walk, think things through before you react, because there can be some heated interactions with other people during this period that can be extremely combative. The other thing you want to think about with Mars in the North Node is burnout. Okay, so that's like a real thing with this transit because Mars is a high energy planet, and when it joins with the North Node, there can be a tendency to push yourself too hard. Make sure to take breaks and take rests when needed to avoid burnout. Whether that's if you're at the gym and you're pushing yourself too far, or you know, if you're pushing your car too much and it's overheating and then it kind of craps out on you. It could even be if you're outside and the temperatures are really high and you're getting some sunshine and you're like, I'm fine. And then the next thing you know, you've got like a heat stroke. Mars has connections to heat. It's also about things that can be about speed. So speeding or being in warm or heated environments, there can be too much going on at one time, and it can lead to there being some burnout. But I think more than anything, watch for that lack of patience, man, because that's definitely what comes up with a Mars and Aries transit. Because energy with Mars in the North Node is amplified, we have a tendency to want something too quickly, or we get agitated because the results aren't coming soon enough. So try to cultivate patience and perseverance, especially if your goals require time and effort to see them come to fruition. We want to be more focused on initiating and starting things, not necessarily completing things. We'll handle that at a later time when Mars is making some other aspects. Now, something else that I want to mention is that we are also going to be seeing that Mars has yet to hit that 19-degree point from the solar eclipse that we saw in Aries in April. So when Mars hits that after this conjunction, we're going to see more effects kind of connected to the eclipse. Do you guys remember that solar eclipse was at 19 degrees of Aries? Exactly conjunct Chiron. So it was warning, hey, there's potential for wounding, there's potential for accidents, for war, for conflict, for injuring yourself, that kind of stuff, or making us more aware with that eclipse of our own healing journey that we need to kind of, you know, get on with. So after the Mars North Node conjunction, it can mean that if there are accidents, or if we're rushing, or if we're pushing things too fast, that actually can harm us. And you will see that that conjunction to 19 degrees will happen days later on May 25th, 2024. Now, just after that conjunction point, we are then going to see Mars come into conjunction with Chiron. And so Chiron will be at 22 degrees when this happens. That's a degree that deals with skin. That's a degree that deals with older age, with bones, with teeth, with things pertaining to older systems, to government, because it's a Capricorn degree. So I kind of see like Mars conjunct the North Node around 18th, 19th as acting impulsively. Then it conjuncts the eclipse point at the 25th of May, and we're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I hurt myself, or I created some kind of conflict in a relationship, or I acted out and now I'm feeling the effects of it. And now that person won't talk to me, or, the relationship kind of fizzled out. And then we see Mars conjunct Chiron on the 29th, and that is when the real healing work can actually begin. Really tricky astrology. I just want to let you guys know that there's a little bit more than just the Mars North Node kind of conjunction that's baked into this. These will be things that will play out over time. But I really feel like this is an opportunity on an individual level to ignite passion. So if you feel like there has been a bit of a lull, or there hasn't been enough opportunity to kind of get things rolling, if you've been bored, if things have felt like it's kind of like lifeless, this could ignite passion. This could ignite passionate relationships, new passion projects. It could get you back in the gym. It could get you out working and being active and focusing on bettering yourself. It can give us more motivation, I think, which I like as well. And definitely there's a sense of confidence when we're talking about Mars and Aries, and determination. Now, for relationships, on the other hand, it is possible for certain rising signs that this can bring a potent and fateful connection between individuals. It can lead a relationship that is both passionate and transformative, with both individuals motivated and challenged to grow in positive ways. This aspect can introduce elements of competition or conflict, but if channeled constructively, it can lead to a dynamic, active, and very passionate relationship. Collectively, this is an energy that is going to bring about some very significant shifts for the world and developments within society. It can bring attention to issues related to individual rights, independence, self-determination, as people are inspired to take a stand for what they believe and fight for their freedoms. This transit can also lead to increased activism, revolutionary change, and the pursuit of personal and collective goals with courage and determination. So get ready, guys, because it's going to get spicy out there. I took a look at the last several times, like the last 5 times or so that we had this conjunction. And I have just a little blurb for each and every one of these time periods, just to give you guys some insight as to what was actually materializing in the world. So I'd like to take you guys back to 2005. This was the last time that we had this particular transit, and it was in July of 2005. So let's go back here. This is the last time that the North Node was in Aries. And here we go. So it looks like the conjunction was happening around about 18 degrees of Aries. So this was the beginning of July of 2005. So obviously with astrology, something to take into consideration is just because Mars and the North Node were in Aries, it does not mean that the astrology is going to be exactly the same, okay? We had some other things going on. Jupiter was in Libra opposing this conjunct the South Node, so we were dealing with both past life and future life stuff. We also saw some squares that were kind of going down kind of from Saturn, and some trines that we were experiencing to Pluto. So very different astrology. But in July of 2005, something that you will see throughout my list, okay, just full disclosure, is that a lot of this is connecting to conflict, to either war, to military mobilization, to attacks. Unfortunately, sometimes with Mars conjunct the North Node, we do see that we are more prone to having unexpected attacks, right? North Node is unseen. And it can be connecting to terror or, some kind of like violent attack, because Mars has connections to that. So In July 2005, we saw the London bombings, and this was on the 7th of July. So it was literally, you know, within a day of this particular conjunction. It happened on July the 7th, which targeted public transportation in London, killing 52 people and injuring over 700 people. The Live 8 concerts were also held in July 2005, aimed at raising awareness of poverty in Africa ahead of the G8 summit, organizing individuals and trying to kind of get them to get on the path of bringing awareness to taking action and helping those who were in need. Okay, interesting that this happened at 18 degrees. So it was about health and assisting those and anything kind of pertaining to maybe where other people were less fortunate, that opposition to the South Node. Obviously, with the South Node in Libra, we're less reliant on relationships and partnerships. We're willing to focus more on our identity outside of our relationships and affiliations with other people. So there's this sense of stop waiting for other people to save you, stop waiting for relationships to intervene, stop waiting for, you know, your soulmate, like focus on like going in your own direction or your own path. And so you'll see this kind of energy that comes through with all of these conjunctions, that there is definitely sparks of, you know, individuals taking some kind of action and like creating some kind of movement. Anyway, that was the last time that we had this conjunction. So I'll take you guys back another cycle. So this is now going to be to 1987. And this was in January of 1987 that we saw the North Node Mars conjunction in the sign of Aries. Okay, so right around here. And it looks round about similar degrees. It happened at 13 degrees, so it's really close to where we're going to be having this, right at the end of January of 1987. So when we had this conjunction, we had the signing of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, known as the INF. This is a treaty between the United States and the Soviet Union aiming at eliminating nuclear and conventional ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles with intermediate ranges. So there was a move to basically kind of like de-escalate, right? Anything to do with ballistic missiles or war. Mars, right? Very much Mars. So could we see something similar? Possibly. Once again, different astrology. You know, we had some trines that were going on with Saturn and Sagittarius, so that could have kind of given a little bit of assistance with, you know, creating some boundaries or some kind of limits to what we're actually doing when it comes to weapons of war. We also saw that there was a growing square to Neptune that was setting up as well, and it was about, you know, whether or not there was like enough maybe disclosure within top-down structures of government about like what's going on out in the world when it comes to like war or anything like that. So different vibes, but definitely very supportive with Saturn, and possibly that's why we saw some kind of change in terms of our relationship, you know, possibly with the Soviet Union during that time. All right, so we're gonna go back another 18, 19 years. I'm gonna take you guys back to March of 1968. This is another time that we saw this conjunction. And a little different here because when we had this, Saturn was very close by. So that's definitely going to flavor a little bit of what was kind of going on at the time. But very similar, we have another North Node Mars conjunction at 18 degrees, very similar to what we had in July of 2005, same degree. And Saturn was sitting there in Aries, obviously, in a sign it's not very comfortable in, at 12 degrees. So it's close enough to really be influencing the North Node Mars conjunction. Well, if you're somebody who knows what was going on in the spring of '68, or if you were around then, you know that this was a very significant period in the Vietnam War. With the Lai massacre occurring on March 16th, where American troops killed between 347 and 504 unarmed South Vietnamese civilians. Also on March 31st, President Lyndon B. Johnson announced that he would not seek re-election. So interesting, you know, is that kind of connected to those kind of brash acts of war, Mars North Node, and the effects and the limitations that that then had potentially on leadership with Saturn being there. It's hard to say. I mean, it's interesting, you know, obviously, just given the fact that, you know, we're going to be having, you know, Mars coming into Aries when we have a Saturn transit here in about 2 years. The North Node won't be there, but I'm wondering if this is going to be more kind of holding leadership accountable for their blatant, just like acts of war crime, you know, down the road. Could that be because of things that are potentially happening with this up and coming conjunction? Maybe. Different astrology. You had some very strong oppositions with, you know, Pisces, Chiron and Pisces, as well as Pluto, Uranus, and Virgo. So we definitely saw major movements against, you know, death, dying, and war. We saw lots of protests with the Vietnam War and people who were pretty much straight up refusing to serve and to kind of show up. You know, it's hard to talk about transits with Aries and Mars and Aries without there being something kind of military oriented. But this time around, I feel like this is about actions having consequences with Saturn kind of being involved. All right, so we are going to now take you guys back to the spring of 1949. So this is going to be April of 1949. And you're like, why are you giving me a history lesson? Because with astrology, astrologers, we have to study the cycles of what's happened in the past to better anticipate and interpret what's coming in the future, because history will repeat itself, right? So obviously a very, very strong stellium of planets in Aries as we're looking at the spring of 49. It looks like the Mars North Node conjunction is happening at about 25 degrees of Aries. So this was April of 1949. When we had this conjunction, we had the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also known as your friends at NATO. It was established on April 4th, a military alliance between several North American and European countries to counter the Soviet Union and protect member nations from the threat of communist expansion. Well, NATO has grown into this monster of a group now. I'll leave my politics out of it, but let's just say that they are an organization that is focused on uniting and being able to have a strong global military presence. There's lots of talk about NATO, their influence on what's going on with all different countries, including how much money countries are expected to contribute to NATO, what the expectations are, you know, what weapons of war and other things they have to be kind of buying and like keeping annually in order to kind of be a part of that membership, and potentially their influence or their meddling in, you know, world affairs. Let's leave it at that. I wonder, you know, I really wonder if this is going to be connected to NATO this time around. You know, certainly there's a lot more people who are aware of NATO and their influence, and also it being like this foreign body outside of, you know, the country that you reside in, that has a huge effect and influence on what's going on in the world and relations pertaining to military, you know, positions and stuff like that. Anyway, different because we had the North Node Mars conjunction at an Aries degree. It was at 25 degrees. We also saw at the time there were trines that were going on pretty much to Pluto and Saturn. So a lot of it was about rulership. It was about strong military presence. It was about leaders and generals and all that fun stuff. Uranus was also in Gemini. And so I think a lot of this was about, you know, world communications and connections and things of that nature. And then also this focus that was kind of going on, you know, surrounding the time of what would eventually be World War II. All right, so let's go back one more. And that's going to be to spring of 1913. And this one, let's see, May of 1913. I think we missed one because it was like the North Node was just going into Pisces and Mars missed it. Okay. So this is, let's see, May, where did this take place? So it's right at the beginning of Aries. So it was actually also at an Aries, was it at an Aries degree? No, it looks like it was, yeah, it was at an Aries degree. So this was right around the 10th of May in 1913. And I've got a little bit of a bigger list here. So that was another conjunction in the midst of a Venus retrograde in Aries, conjunct Mercury. We're going to see something similar next spring. We're going to see that similar cycle. Anyway, well, what can I tell you about the spring of 1913? We had the Second Balkan War, which began in June, so just shortly after this conjunction. But tensions were already high in May. The conflict arose when Bulgaria, dissatisfied with their share of spoils from the First Balkan War, attacked its former allies, Serbia and Greece. The war ended in August of 1913 with the Treaty of Bucharest, which significantly reduced Bulgaria's territorial gains. Then we had, by the way, Mars is also about conquering. So it's about conquering and what you're able to acquire, and it's about being able to be the first in a situation, or, you know, having your needs met and like defending those needs. All right, so then the second thing that happened in May of 1913 is military reforms were taking place in Russia. Russia announced significant military reforms, including the introduction of a new military service law that reduced the period of active service and increased the size of the reserve army. These reforms aimed to modernize the Russian military in response to the lessons learned from the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905. So strengthening the military and how long people can serve, and also focusing on having more reserves, so they're having younger, more youthful, healthier service members that are ready to go. That's very Mars. And then last but certainly not the least, this is probably one of the bigger ones, was the European arms race. Okay, so the early 20th century, we saw a significant arms race among European powers, particularly naval expansion. In May of 1913, tensions were high as countries competed to build up their military capabilities, contributing to a growing instability in Europe that would eventually lead to World War I the following year. Now, all of these things that were going on within Europe, primarily like Eastern Europe, were conflicts that were eventually like kind of setting the stage for military developments that would follow in the years leading up to World War I, because of the actions and things that were seeded during that time, right? So just some food for thought, guys. There's definitely going to be some flames being thrown. There's going to be some tensions that are going to be high. We're definitely going to be seeing, I think, within that period, let me kind of go back to where we're at now. Let's just do this. It's going to be May 20th. Within this time period of the conjunction, so like I said, I work with about a 2-degree orb. So let's say from the 16th of May to when we have the conjunction, which looks like it's going to be on the 19th, to when it's separating around the 21st, that's the Mars North Node conjunction. Great time to initiate things and get things going. There's other stuff going on in the skies. I don't want to focus on it too much. But the sun will be conjunct Jupiter, so it is this larger than life, anything is possible, yes, we can do it kind of vibe. We are also seeing Venus in the mix as well, so it's about going after what we want and really focusing on acquiring something of value. All these planets are trining Pluto, so there's a lot of power here, right? But it's the days after that I have some concerns. Because once we see Mars hit the activation point of the solar eclipse from April, which will be on the 25th, we are going to see more effects from that solar eclipse. So be aware, be prepared. We are going to see some of that stuff continue to unfold, which can create injuries, harm, and it can also be about injuries to service members. It can be about dealing with veterans and veterans' needs. It can also be about the health or the strength of our armies. There can be discussions about whether or not potentially, they're talking about having a draft. That is possible with some of these energies. And then we are going to see Mars come into conjunction with Chiron, and that's going to be on the 29th. So as far as I'm concerned, pretty much from the 16th on, it's on like Donkey Kong. A positive way to use this energy is have an outlet. Make sure that you're focused on your goals, show up, get things done, be the best, smash your goals. Get up early, focus on the things that you desire the most, but don't push yourself, don't fight, don't go toe-to-toe with people. Watch your temper, because tempers can kind of flare, and fortune favors the bold with that Mars North Node conjunction. All right, so let's get into this conjunction for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. I want to show you guys really quickly where this is going to be taking place in your natal chart. Now, I am a Western astrologer, so I practice tropical Western astrology. I am not a Vedic astrologer. I really want you guys to listen to your whole sign, your rising sign first. You can also listen to your sun and your moon sign. I would encourage you to listen to especially your moon sign, because the north and the south node is connected to the moon. So it's going to have some kind of impact on you emotionally, maybe your home or your family. You can check your progress chart, it might resonate there. And if you are a Placidus user like me, on my one-on-one sessions with clients, I use Placidus housing system. I find that it's more accurate for my predictions. Look for where 14 degrees of Aries is in your chart, where this conjunction is taking place. Extra bonus points if it's on a natal planet, if it's on a north node, if you're having your nodal return. It's like getting on the path on steroids, basically. So if you guys are having some interesting stories with some of that stuff, I'd love to hear all about it. Let me know in the comments below. But these are going to be your 12 rising sign predictions for the whole tropical system. All right, so for Aries and Aries rising, you guys have a few things working in your favor. So you have Mars, your ruling planet, in your sign. So you're playing with home field advantage. You've got Mars moving through your first house, where it is very confident and comfortable. This is giving you so much energy to initiate something brand new for you. It's about being active, being brave, being fearless, and just kind of pioneering in your daily activities. I think this conjunction is going to lead to increased drive and assertiveness in your self-expression and also in your personal identity. Individuals may feel a strong urge to assert their individuality and pursue your personal goals with a sense of passion and courage. Don't forget that Mars is connected to Scorpio, so it's about facing your fears, being courageous, and making some kind of significant change. Watch for the tail end of the Mars Chiron stuff. It can be about healing wounds. Be careful with anything sharp, hot, or fast, okay? Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Mars North Node transit in the sign of Aries in your natal 12th house. For you, my Tauruses, this is going to be an interesting one because it's taking place in the area of your chart that is hidden. It's about completion, spirituality, your subconscious, and your private life. So when you have Mars transiting with this North Node conjunction, it can be leading you to a period of deep introspection and personal transformation. You may feel a strong urge to face your fears and desires, leading to profound spiritual growth and a greater understanding for what's been holding you back. Now, the 12th house can be about healing, okay? It can also be about exploring and going to foreign places. It can be also about exploring things that have been kind of deep in your subconscious. Mars also has connections to your 7th house, so it can be relationship related. So there can be some stuff that's coming up in your subconscious about what's been holding you back in relationships and what's been bothering you and what you need to be working through and what you may feel like you need to sort out or cut through, or what you need to finally complete. And you might be doing that in a very private or spiritual way. Watch for rest, recuperation, and healing. That's a big piece of the puzzle, and finding ways to better deal with anger or frustration in a peaceful manner. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing the Mars North Node conjunction in the sign of Aries in your natal 11th house. For you, my Gemini, this conjunction in this 11th house, I think it can actually be really fun. It can be very active. You might find that it's bringing a dynamic that's much more assertive when it comes to friendships and group associations. You may find yourself taking on a leadership role within social circles and being drawn to groups that share your passion or your similar goals. I like this year for socializing, for joining a country club, for going and playing sports with a team, for kind of banding your friends together and being like, we're going to go and do something. Mars has connections to the 6th house of coworkers, health, and also habits. So it can mean that you're taking a group fitness class, you're organizing some kind of team building exercise with people at work. It can mean also that, you know, you're focusing on being able to share your goals and your hopes and your dreams with other people about productivity and being able to, yeah, really like work together, which makes sense with Saturn being in your 10th house. You know, it's like, okay, how can we kind of encourage individuals to kind of do their share so we can kind of work cohesively as a team a little bit better? So hopefully it improves your guys' social life and you guys have a lot of opportunities to kind of go and connect and do stuff with other people, or you join a cause that you really believe in. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You'll be experiencing the Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries transit in your natal 10th house. For you, my Cancers and Cancer risings, this is such a strong time for your career, okay? Really hear me here. This is going to bring so much drive and so much focus when it comes to your career and really standing out in the crowd. It can be a time that's highly competitive in the workspace, or you're just achieving a lot of success and public recognition. You may feel a sense of urgency to assert yourself in your professional life or to pursue your ambitions with courage and determination. Now, the 10th house is about your status. So it can mean that you're, you know, launching your own business. It could mean that you're kind of in some kind of like competition with other people at work, or you're striving to kind of have the best numbers or the best performance. It can also be a time that can feel like there's just a lot of momentum when it comes to your career and that you have a lot of energy to get things done. Mars also has connections to your 5th house of creativity, children, romance. So it can be about a creative business. It can be your responsibilities as a parent. So it can mean that there's just more on your plate as a parent if you have kids and you're feeling more responsibility when it comes to balancing parenting and also working. But equally, for those of you guys in creative industries, those of you guys who are wanting to launch your own business, it's a really positive transit. Romance can be found at work, and passion projects can actually turn into full-blown like businesses. So like, let's say you have like a side hustle, you might start an Etsy, or maybe you decide that you want to go and open up an LLC so you can take like your little side hustle and like make it a real thing and turn it into a business. That would be a wonderful way to use this transit. Certainly parenting comes up here too. So it can be about your status changing in a sense of feeling like you want to be a parent, or you feel more responsibility for your children here as well. But I do think you're going to enjoy what you're doing, especially if it's creative and if you're given the room to have a little bit more authority at work. Good luck, Cancer. We have Leo and Leo rising. You'll be experiencing Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries in your natal 9th house. For you guys, obviously this is happening in a fellow sister fire sign, so it's going to make trines to your sun, moon, or rising, so it's going to make things kind of lively. Having this transit in your 9th house is great because I think it brings a strong sense of like a need for excitement. There's a desire for adventure and exploration. You may find that you're drawn to new experiences. There is this push to go back to school, get diplomas, get some kind of certification. Maybe there are philosophical pursuits and a sense of purpose and drive. The 9th house is about being optimistic about what the future holds, and Mars rules your 4th house as well. So some of you guys are really excited about, oh my gosh, you know, I have a whole new outlook on life, or I traveled to this place I've never been. Now maybe I'm going to move here. You can see a lot more traveling going on. You can see a huge focus also on philosophy, law, education, working with mentors, teachers, training, publishing. All of these topics kind of come up here. Those of you guys who are, you know, contemplating getting married, you may do so very quickly. Those of you guys who are involved in education or in law, you might notice just a real uptick in the positive swing with business as well. And it may make you feel like you want to teach other people, or you want to kind of preach to other people about your philosophy with life. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys will be experiencing Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries in your 8th house. Good news is, Virgo, is that Mars likes being in the 8th house, right? It likes to transform, and it's passionate, and it's sexy, and it's intense, and it gets what it needs from other people in the 8th house. So if you're needing a loan, if you're needing someone to pay you back, if you need an increase in your credit limit, If you're wanting to have more sexy time, like it's a good transit for that stuff. But Mars going through the 8th house and meeting with the North Node is definitely a very transformative period when it comes to shared resources. So think of banking, taxes, joint resources, inheritance, and intimate relationships as well. So you're going to probably feel this urge to take control of your joint finances and deeply dive into your own psyche to better understand your deepest desires and your deepest fears. Mars can go through here and be like, okay, you're afraid of it. Let's deal with it very quickly so we can get that out of the way, right? So it can be about talking about credit scores, talking about intimacy, talking about fears. Mars has connections to the 3rd house, so it can be about communicating these fears. There can be rapid opportunities for healing here. But it can also be a time where, conversations can help you get over your fears. It's also about learning how to communicate in a way that's not fearful and not combative. And you may be able to, through written communication, phone calls, emails, work through some kind of a block. And it's a great time for like talk therapy as well with this Mars transit. But also it's about receiving more. So you may, buy a car, right? Because Mars rules your 3rd house. You may decide that you want to dip into your savings. That could be your 8th house. Or a partner may be more generous and say, hey, I'll help you pay for something, or I'll, cover this. And that can help you receive more here as well. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You're going to be experiencing Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries in your natal 7th house. Okay, so for you, my Libras, so the 7th house is your opposite sign, right? Aries. It's in its home sign as well, so it's going to be extremely potent, and this can go one of two ways. With Mars conjunct the North Node in your 7th house, it can bring a very dynamic and assertive energy to partnerships and relationships. If you are single, it can bring somebody into your life who just pursues you like nobody's business. They could be an athlete. They could be somebody who comes on very strong, very quickly. They could be very persistent in getting to know you, working with you, dating you, so on and so forth. However, you may also find that there can be a sense of combativeness and conflict with other people. Remember, the 7th house is usually the house of relations. And so you've got Mars going through that house, which means other people are going to be pushy. They're going to be really determined to get what they want. They may be a little selfish in the process. And there can be a tendency, because you're so much more involved with relationships. There's such more of an active role in relationships that, after a Mercury retrograde and a solar eclipse here, if you have been having issues on your one-on-one relationships and things have not been working, and like a partner is acting out and they're being combative even after having the problems and the communications and trying to work through it, Mars can almost be like the blade that comes in and severs it and cuts it. So you may cut someone off. Mars rules your 2nd house of money and resources, and it also is connected to Scorpio, which can be about sexual connections. So some Libras and Libra risings will say, that's it, I'm not sleeping with that person anymore, or I don't want to, be in a relationship with them anymore, or I'm cutting them off from the money, I'm not, being generous with them anymore. There is something kind of brewing here about disconnecting from someone or something if they are being selfish, if they are being combative, if they're being pushy. This can also be a financial advisor, it could be a counselor, it could be a client. You could be like, you know what, I don't want to work with that person anymore, or it's not worth, the hassle, I'll take the loss, I'll let them go. On the flip side, this can be good for some Libras and Libra risings. I would say it really depends on the experience you've had the last 2 months with the retrograde and the eclipse. But for the most part, the single Libra risings, I think, are going to find people are coming into their life that's part of their destined kind of like relationship path. So you might meet a significant partner, a coach, a mentor, a therapist, somebody like that, who can come in, who can kind of like encourage you for some kind of growth within relationships, okay? All right. You can bring in a lot of clients there too, Libra, if you have a client-based business. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. All right, Scorpio. Well, obviously Mars rules your chart. It's your traditional ruler. I know you are ruled by Pluto as well, but you have to watch Mars transits because it rules your 1st house of your body. So wherever Mars is where you are. Mars going through the 6th house, it has a lot of things to do, right? So it's about productivity, it's about health, it's about organization, it's about your office space, your schedule. So likely you have found that there's like this never-ending to-do list, right? So when Mars comes into conjunction with the North Node in your 6th house, what this is going to be about is I think that there is just going to be this really strong drive to improve your daily routine and your work habits. You may feel a sense of urgency to take control of your health and your work life, leading to significant changes and improvements. You're the one creating these changes, Scorpio. So if you're like, you know what, I need to start running more, you'll run more. If you're like, I need to go to the gym, you'll go to the gym more. If you're like, I need to cut out, this from my diet, you'll cut that out. You are the person who's going to be in charge of what you can do. However, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, remember that you had a solar eclipse in this house. You had a retrograde in this house. You need to think long and hard about what's happened the last 2 months. Did you get sick? Did you have an injury? Did your pet have a problem? Did you have some scheduling issues? Did you experience burnout? If you had any of those things, then Mars conjunct the North Node is kind of letting you know you can have goals, but you need to do it in a way that is going to be, like sufficient. Like you can't overdo it. Look at the tail end of the transits when it hits the eclipse degree, when it hits the Chiron conjunction. Some of you guys can have skin problems, digestional issues, cuts, burns, bruises, pets with health problems, that kind of stuff. I hate to say that, but it can happen. I'm a Scorpio sun, I'm not even a Scorpio rising, and I had all of those things happen with some of the eclipse in the retrograde. So it affects the sun signs too. So if you're a Scorpio sun listening, definitely pay attention. But this is a really good time to be focusing on how you can build better health in a slow, sustainable way. And a lot of it is connected to nutrition and what you're eating, okay? So good luck, Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Let me know what happens. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You guys will be experiencing the Mars conjunct the North Node and Aries transit in your natal 5th house. Sag, this is a wonderful one for you. I love that it's trining your Sun, Moon, or rising. So we've got some fire trines, so it's going to be feisty, fun, creative, pretty dynamic here. The 5th house, obviously, with the North Node conjunction, is bringing about a very passionate and assertive approach to creative pursuits and romantic relationships. You may find yourself doing more daring or creative projects and being a little bit more passionate about life with this particular transit. The 5th house is gambling, it's romance, it's dating, it's having fun, it's hobbies. Aries can be things you do on your own. So you might feel like, I want to get on stage and do comedy. Or you might feel like, I want to start, performing and playing the guitar. Or you may feel as if, you want to get into like golfing or doing something that's kind of like sporty, but also like a hobby. Mars is the ruler of your 12th house as well. So this is about the subconscious. So it can mean that subconsciously you feel like, I need something that's going to be active and creative, or your subconscious is very active and you have a dream or you feel inspired and then you sit down and you play music or you write a song. This is also about tapping into, I think, talents that you didn't know that you had, because that can be the 12th house, and how you're processing kind of Scorpio energy, heartbreak, pain, fear, things like that, and trying to find a way to kind of like make lemonade and create something. You may take up more of an interest also in things connected to photography or film or something that's more kind of spiritual or aesthetic. And definitely for a lot of Sagittarius risings, it's about either dating, finding somebody, falling in love, and having a very passionate kind of love affair. Or for those of you guys who are coupled, it can be about pregnancy, and it can be about children, because the Mars North Node connection can also be about that process of the act of creating kids, just to kind of keep it PG. Anyway, even if you're not trying to do that, there's going to be a lot of that action, and I hope you guys enjoy that transit. Just stay out of the casinos, okay? All right, we've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys will be experiencing the Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries transit in your natal 4th house. So for my Capricorns and Capricorn risings, this is going to be an interesting conjunction that really is going to put the focus on personal and family matters. 4th house is your home. You may feel a really strong surge to assert your independence within your family, within your home. You may feel like you need to take decisive action to establish a sense of security and stability in your life. There can be some conflict that you can be having with roommates, with relatives, with men in the family. You may be more proactive in building a home, renovating, designing, acquiring, moving, and very protective of your space. Now, Mars rules also the 11th house of goals, friends, and allies. So it can be a time where you're like, it's just a very active time. I've got friends staying with me. I've got, parties at the house, or friends are coming over. They're helping me move. For the first time in a while, you may feel like you're creating a home that's yours, or you may be on the hunt or the search for the perfect home. I would say here, the one thing that you want to watch for is that it can be bringing up conflict within the family. It can also be bringing up some unexpected disturbances that can be happening around the home. So it could be that it's not you having a party, but your neighbors are like up partying late at night, and you're like, this is so annoying. When is it going to die down? That kind of feeling. But try to stay proactive. Have a list of things that you want to do, and expect the unexpected when it comes to your home and goals for the future with where you may potentially be living. You might travel to a place that you end up loving and then realize, you know what, I'm going to move here. That can sometimes happen with this transit as well. Enjoy, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries in your natal 3rd house. For you guys, this conjunction is all going to be about dynamic and assertive communication. 3rd house is communication, writing, short distance travel, vehicles, siblings. But Aries is I am, right? So I think, I write, I say, I learn, I drive. So there can be a real focus in being like, I want to be a writer for a living, or I want to launch a website, or I want to become a YouTuber. Okay, maybe think about that. Just kidding. But there's something that you have to say, or something that you want to share with the world. And it's going to require you to act on it. Okay, so the 3rd house is learning, communicating, writing, sharing. Mars is connected to your 10th house, which is about your reputation. So it is possible that you have this strong urge to learn and explore new ideas. You might find that you're just a lot more direct and straightforward in your interactions with other people and your communication style. Word of advice: do not be speeding. Take your time when you're getting places. Don't rush through conversations. Don't rush through contracts. Don't immediately start a job or something unless you're sure about it. Make sure that you know what you're doing if you're going to be writing about something, publishing, or putting something out there. But I think this shift is actually starting with a change of mind. How you communicate, how you think, what you have to say. And it can be giving you a platform to really majorly change something about your reputation. Watch for squabbles with neighbors and siblings. That can definitely happen here. And like I said, slow down when you're driving. Take your time. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries transit in your natal 2nd house. Now, in your 2nd house, it is all about a strong desire for financial independence and the courage to take risks on financial matters. You may be driven to take charge of your situation and to pursue your material goals with tons of determination. The 2nd house North Node Mars transit is about being so passionate about the idea of being self-made. It's my money, I made it, I created it, like I built this is mine type of vibe. 2nd house is also self-esteem, personal values. It can also be about how you're spending money, and with the Mars North Node transit, it can have you spending a lot of it if you're not careful. Now, Mars rules the 9th house of certification, training, traveling, the higher mind, your belief system. Some of you guys might find that you're spending more money on legal matters, more money on education, more money on traveling. But it seems like it's something that you're like, no, this is worth it. Or, I'm investing in this because I believe that it's going to benefit me. Or I'm getting a degree or a certification because I'm going to make more money. Or I'm traveling because there's opportunity to make more money. You're learning more about yourself, and you're also learning more about your financial situation and how to improve that. I love this transit for you guys. I feel like it's going to help you become extremely entrepreneurial and pioneering when it comes to developing a strong sense of financial health and also wealth as well in the process. Good luck. I hope this is helpful for you guys, giving you some insight on this Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries transit. What are you guys thinking about the second half of May? It's going to be a very action-packed time. Where is this happening in your natal chart? Were you born with Mars conjunct the North Node? Are you having it transit your North Node or other aspects in your chart that seem significant? Let us know below, especially if you have it natally. It's really helpful to hear from people who have this natally who can give some feedback because you can help all of us kind of like better navigate and use this transit in a very positive way. You guys can come back and leave comments about what's happening out in the world as well and see if we are kind of like right on the money with some of the tensions that will be rising. Obviously, we always hope for peace, but well, sometimes it's not possible when we're dealing with Aries transits. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Support me as a full-time content creator. You can do that by joining one of my lives that I have on Friday nights. I'll be here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, doing live astrology readings. Come on, join us, get a reading. We can talk about this transit or whatever else you have going on in your natal chart. Make sure you check the link in my community tab. You guys can join me there. And I look forward to doing those readings. And I will catch you guys all back here on Friday. Until next time, take care.